She was standing on stage when her phone vibrated,
Ma'am, this is hotel security.
and in that moment, her entire marriage collapsed.
She was standing on stage, smiling in front of 500 people. When her phone vibrated, "Ma'am, this is hotel security." And in that moment, her entire marriage collapsed. Because the man lying unconscious in room 1708 was not supposed to be there, and the woman found with him was wearing her necklace. The same necklace he claimed was stolen 2 years ago. But that wasn't even the worst part. What hotel security discovered next would destroy everything he spent 10 years hiding. This is Broken Then Powerful, where pain turns into power. Emma Lawson spent most of her life being the woman who held everything together. At work, she was respected. At home, invisible. She was the kind of wife who remembered birthdays, doctor appointments, favorite meals, and the exact way her husband liked his coffee. But somehow, none of that was ever enough for Daniel. He always acted tired around her, distracted, cold, like marriage to her had become some unfinished task he regretted starting. And the painful part? Emma blamed herself. Every single time. Maybe she worked too much. Maybe she gained weight. Maybe she stopped being fun. So she tried harder. New dresses, new makeup, date nights, apologies for arguments she didn't even start. While Daniel slowly became a stranger living inside the same house. He stopped touching her first, then stopped looking at her. Then one day, he stopped coming home early at all. But whenever she asked questions, he'd laugh. "You're overthinking again." That sentence became a prison, because every time her instincts screamed, he convinced her she was crazy. And after years of hearing it, she started believing him. That's what emotional neglect does. It doesn't break you loudly. It breaks you quietly, one apology at a time, one ignored feeling at a time, one lonely dinner at a time, until you no longer recognize yourself. Then came the conference. 3 days in Chicago. Emma almost canceled. Daniel barely reacted when she told him. "Okay," he said without looking up from his phone. No kiss goodbye. No I'll miss you. Nothing. And somehow, that hurt more than yelling ever could. The first day of the conference was exhausting. Speeches, networking, fake smiles. But for the first time in years, Emma felt something strange. Peace. No tension. No silence hanging in the air. No wondering why her husband seemed annoyed by her existence. She laughed with colleagues, enjoyed dinner, even danced a little during the evening event. And for a few hours, she remembered the woman she used to be. Confident, warm, alive. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. "Hello? Ma'am, this is security from the Grand Meridian Hotel." Her stomach tightened instantly. "We found your emergency contact information attached to a guest in room 1708, Daniel, her husband." But Daniel told her he was home. He told her he had meetings all weekend. At first she thought maybe something terrible happened, a heart attack, an accident. But then the guard hesitated, and Emma felt it, that cold feeling, the one women know before the truth arrives. "Your husband appears to have collapsed after an altercation." Emma froze. Altercation? With whom? Silence. Then, "A woman, ma'am." Everything inside her went still. The security guard explained they found Daniel unconscious in the suite after hotel. Staff heard screaming. The woman had disappeared before security arrived. But they found broken glass, alcohol, 2 phones, and jewelry scattered across the floor, including a necklace, Emma's necklace, the one Daniel claimed had been stolen during a business trip years ago. Her hand started shaking, because suddenly, tiny moments from the past began connecting like broken pieces of glass. The missing money, the secretive passwords, the late-night work dinners, the coldness, the gaslighting, the distance. It wasn't stress. It wasn't depression. It wasn't her. It was betrayal. Years of it. And that realization hurt more than cheating itself. Because the woman who kept blaming herself was innocent the entire time. Emma left the conference immediately. The flight home felt endless. Daniel called 23 times. She answered none of them. Then came the texts. It's not what it looks like. She's lying. I can explain. Funny how people suddenly find words right after they get caught. When Emma finally arrived home, Daniel was sitting in the kitchen, bruised, panicked, smaller than she'd ever seen him. But she noticed something immediately. He wasn't sorry because he hurt her. He was sorry because the truth escaped. That changes everything. He started crying before she even sat down. It only happened once. Lie. She meant nothing. Lie. I didn't want to hurt you. Lie. Because betrayal is never one decision. It's thousands. Thousands of texts. Thousands of lies. Thousands of moments where someone chooses themselves over your trust. Emma listened quietly, and for the first time in years, she stopped defending him in her mind. Then he said the sentence that finally killed their marriage. You were always so busy anyway. There it was, the blame, again, even now, even after destroying her trust. He still needed her to carry responsibility for his choices. Emma looked at him for a long moment, then stood up calmly, and said 5 words that terrified him more than screaming ever could. I finally see you now. That night, she slept in the guest room, but she didn't cry, not because she wasn't hurting, because something inside her had shifted. Pain changes when truth enters the room, and for the first time in years, Emma stopped asking, "What's wrong with me?" and started asking, "Why did I settle for this?" That question changed her life. Over the next few weeks, Emma became silent, dangerously silent. No arguments, no begging, no emotional speeches. She hired a lawyer quietly, opened new accounts quietly, started therapy quietly, and while Daniel thought the storm had passed, Emma was rebuilding herself from the ground up. She started waking up early again, working out, reading, traveling for work without guilt. She laughed louder, walked taller, smiled more, not because life suddenly became easy, but because she stopped carrying someone else's disrespect like it was her responsibility. And Daniel noticed. Oh, he noticed. Because people often miss your value until your energy disappears from their life. Suddenly he wanted date nights again. Flowers, conversations, attention. But they didn't know the version of Emma they ignored for years was already gone. That was their biggest mistake. Months later, Emma finalized the divorce. No drama, no revenge screaming, no social media posts, just peace. And that confused Daniel more than anger ever could. Because deep down, he expected her to break, to beg, to stay. Instead, she evolved. 1 year later, Emma was invited to speak at a leadership summit in New York. Hundreds of executives attended. Her career had exploded after she launched her own consulting company. People admired her confidence now, her presence, her calm strength. But nobody in that audience knew the real story behind her smile. Then came the moment, after her speech. A man approached her slowly. Daniel, older, tired, regret written all over his face. Emma barely recognized him. He looked like someone still haunted by a life he destroyed with his own hands. I see you everywhere now, he said quietly. Articles, interviews, conferences. Emma nodded politely. Then he whispered something that revealed the truth about everything. I never thought you'd become this without me. And there it was. The reason some people try to make you feel small. Because your growth threatens the version of reality where they felt superior. Daniel needed Emma insecure. Because confident women stop tolerating crumbs. He looked at her with tears in his eyes. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Emma smiled gently. Not out of revenge, not bitterness, just clarity. Then she said something he would remember forever. No, Daniel. The biggest mistake of your life was thinking I'd never realize my worth. And then she walked away. Not because she stopped loving him once, but because she finally started loving herself more. That's the part people never talk about. Healing isn't loud. Sometimes healing looks like silence. Boundaries. Walking away calmly. Choosing yourself after years of abandonment. And the truth is, some people only appreciate your loyalty after they lose access to it. But by then, it's too late. If someone constantly makes you question your value, pay attention. Love should feel safe, not confusing, not exhausting, not lonely, because the right people won't force you to shrink just to keep them comfortable. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge is becoming someone who no longer needs validation from the people who broke you. She stayed silent, but not weak. Broken, then powerful. Subscribe to Broken Then Powerful for more stories like this. Because sometimes the worst phone call of your life becomes the beginning of the life you were meant to live.